All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lindsey, Secretary of the California Department of Veterans Affairs and a proud veteran of the United States Navy. I'm honored to welcome you here in Sacramento at our CalVet headquarters as we join Governor Newsom for signing Senate Bill 694. This is a proud moment for our state. SB 694 makes it clear. California will not tolerate claim sharks that target and exploit our veterans and their families. So thank you, Governor Newsom, for signing this bill, and thank you for your steadfast and continued support of our veterans and their families. We're also joined today by the bill's author, Senator Bob Archuleta, and co-author, Assemblymember Pilar Schiavo. Thank you both for supporting our veterans as your roles of chairs of the Senate and Assembly Military and Veterans Affairs Committees. Thank you also to the support of Senator Sabrina Cervantes, to Attorney General Rob Bonta and his office for his co-sponsoring this bill and for his continued support as well. I'd also like to thank the coalition of veterans organizations that provide free, accredited assistance to veterans every day. Thank you to the California Association of County Veteran Service Offices, the VFW Department of California, the American Legion Department of California, the California State Commanders Council and its many members, and many, many more. And finally, thanks to our dedicated team at CalVet who work hard every day hand in hand with veterans as they assist them and their families. SB 694 supports this work. This law requires federal accreditation to represent or advise a veteran in filing their benefits. It prohibits unauthorized fees, and it protects veterans' privacy and security. This law ensures that we can fight the misinformation and false promises that so many of these companies make and who prey upon our veterans. But this wasn't easy. This coalition of veterans, service officers, legislators, and advocates fought an uphill battle of misinformation about how veterans can file VA disability claims and where they can access these benefits they have earned through their military service. All of these services are offered for free and always should be. Unfortunately, many veterans don't know that they fall prey to unaccredited companies who are charging outrageous fees, something that's already prohibited by federal law. So today, we stand firm in protecting our veterans and their families and state clearly that every veteran has the right to access their benefits for free with a VA-accredited organization or VA-accredited attorney. Now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, representing the partnership between CalVet and our county representatives, President of the California Association of County Veteran Service Officers, David West.
Thank you very much, Secretary Sin. On behalf of the California Association of County Veteran Services Officers and the veterans and families we serve across all 58 counties, thank you for signing Senate Bill 694 into law. County Veteran Services Officers see the impact of predatory claims companies every single day. We see it not in our reports or headlines, but face to face, across the desk, when a veteran comes into us confused, stressed, and often harmed by a system that promised help, yet delivered exploitation. These companies aggressively target veterans at some of the most vulnerable moments of their lives, right after discharge, during medical crisis, or when they're simply trying to understand the benefits that they've already earned. They bombard veterans with phone calls, pressure them into contracts they don't fully understand, charge excessive fees, and interfere with legitimate claims, often delaying or damaging access to care and compensation. One of those veterans was Christian Hamill. Christian was just 22 years old when he was discharged from the United States Marine Corps. Almost immediately, he began receiving nonstop phone calls, some as early as 5 o'clock in the morning, pressuring him to file a claim through a for-profit company. The stress of that experience ultimately led to Christian suffering a stroke at 22. This is the real human cost of predatory behavior, and it is something CVSOs across California have witnessed for far too often. Senate Bill 694 is about putting an end to that harm. This law draws a clear line. Veterans' benefits are not a business opportunity. They are a promise made to those who served. Senate Bill 694 establishes meaningful protections, accountability, and enforcement to ensure that promise is not exploited. Just as importantly, Senate Bill 694 provides relief for veterans who are already trapped in these predatory arrangements. Any veteran currently under contract with an unaccredited predatory claims company will have those contracts voided as of January 1, 2027. That date represents freedom. Freedom from financial exploitation, freedom from intimidation, and freedom to seek help from accredited, ethical professionals who exist solely to serve the veterans' best interests. For CVSOs, that means we can finally say to veterans, you are protected, and the state of California is on your side. This bill passed because of collaboration between CVSOs, CalVet, legislative leaders, advocates, all who refused to accept that exploitation was simply the cost of doing business. It passed because people listened to veterans, believed them, and acted. Governor, by signing Senate Bill 694, you are sending a powerful message to every veteran in California. Your service matters, your health matters, and your state will protect you. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for standing for California's veterans. It is now my pleasure to introduce David Kuda, State Commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars.
Good afternoon. I represent over 90,000 members of the California Veterans of Foreign Wars and its auxiliary. But more so, I represent a community of veterans and their families, as well as the community who supports all of us. Now, I'd like to say that this has been a partnership effort here in what we gather today to celebrate. The governor here choosing to sign this bill that represents a protection that is much needed for veterans around the world and around California. We definitely have been preyed upon. I will tell you that since the Continental Army started in 1776, we've had people preying on your veterans. But California sends an important message. I thank the legislators that put together their partnership to be able to overcome an issue, because one of the trademarks of veteran support in our state and throughout the country, as I found out, has been bipartisan support. And this represents a landmark, a very landmark decision in being able to afford protections to veterans, telling them that California will not stand by and let us be used, as is the case in several places. And as California goes, so does the rest of the country. The rest of the country will recognize this. They'll be talking about what California has been doing for their veterans. And as long as we have veterans out there that need protections, we have over 1.8 million veterans in California. And we all know that the struggles that they go through, this provides a major protection so that they can get the benefits that they earned. And as my comrade David West said, this is not a Benny as far as something given. This is earned. They honored the contract. We honored the contract when we did what we did to serve our country. And this is honoring that contract. And California represents a very strong message in that. So I once again say thank you from all of the veterans that I represent to the congressmen, to the senators and to the assembly members and the governor himself. Thank you so much. It means the world to our families. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Attorney General Rob Bonta.
Thank you. Well, let me just say thank you, Commander Kuda, for the incredible words, and grateful for the opportunity to be here. Rob Bonta, California Attorney General, and proud to be here with all of these incredible folks, leaders, this amazing coalition to mark the signing of Senate Bill 694, which is a very important new law strengthening protections for veterans, strengthening protections for their families. I want to say thank you up front to our great Governor Gavin Newsom for his leadership, for his commitment to signing this bill, to Senator Bob Archuleta, Senator Sabrina Cervantes, and Assembly Member Pilar Chavo for authoring it and advancing it. It was a long road with many obstacles, and makes today even that much more satisfying and important in delivering such an important set of protections for our veterans. But most of all, I want to be very clear that without the veterans here today who advocated for this progress, who fought for this progress, who committed to this change, none of this would be possible. And I'm very honored, very grateful, very privileged to stand with such incredible champions. I want to also take a moment to honor the memory of Roger Meyer in particular, an Army veteran and California VFW leader who helped advocate with our office for an earlier version of this legislation. We're grateful for his service. We're grateful for his voice on behalf of veterans. His legacy continues to move forward in this bill and in many other ways. SB 694 is about stopping the exploitation of veterans, stopping that exploitation when they seek the benefits, as mentioned, that they earned through service and through sacrifice. Veterans showed up for us in service to this country, and we must show up for them when it matters most. That's exactly what SB 694 is about. Across the country, so-called claim sharks target veterans seeking help with their benefit claims. Veterans who deserve qualified help, not financial traps, not exploitation. And the rule is simple. If you want to charge veterans for claims help, you must be accredited, and you must follow the law. Simple, but powerful. California already leads in providing free, trustworthy help through county veteran services offices, accredited veterans organizations, and VA-accredited representatives. This law strengthens that system and protects veterans from predatory actors trying to game it. My office will enforce this law and continue working with our partners to protect all of those who served. In California, we stand with veterans, and we won't tolerate their exploitation. So with that, let me say thank you, and I want to pass it on to an incredible champion and partner in the legislature, Assemblymember Pilar Chavo.
Good afternoon. I am the chair of Assembly Military and Veteran Affairs Committee, but more importantly, I'm the daughter of a disabled veteran. And I am so, so proud to be standing here today, and I know my dad would be incredibly proud as well. Veterans earn their VA disability benefits through great sacrifice, and they deserve every single penny. But for too long, predatory claim sharks have targeted veterans, charging illegal fees for them to try and get access to the benefits that they have earned through their service. With the signing of SB 694, California is making it clear. Our veterans are not your profit. I want to thank Senator Archuleta for his incredible leadership, Attorney General Bonta, not only for helping us get to today, but the hard work he's going to do going forward after this to enforce the law. And I want to also thank our Speaker Rivas, Pro Tem Limon, who were unwavering supporters, and our federal partners who also engaged in this fight, Ranking Member Mark Takano, Speaker Emerita Pelosi, highlighting the national importance of this law. And to the governor for his vision and leadership, holding up California's values and making sure that we are standing with veterans by signing this into law today. But especially I want to thank the veterans. The California Association of County Veteran Services Officers and the many veterans and veteran organizations who came to advocate. This was the hardest bill that I've had to work on since I've been in the legislature. And chairing military and veteran affairs, most of our bills are non-controversial. Most of them are bipartisan. And I know veterans have never had to work harder to be heard. And we know why that is, because there was so much money on the other side. This is a $73 billion a year industry. And what that means is that is $73 billion of taxpayer dollars that is going into the pockets of corporations instead of the pockets of veterans. California is saying that's not acceptable. It is already against federal law, but unfortunately, the penalty that was in federal law was taken out years ago, and these illegal businesses have been allowed to not only flourish, but thrive and become millionaires. So California took a different approach. We invested in county veteran service officers. We have, free veteran service officers who will help veterans navigate the VA system for free. Our Military and Veteran Affairs Committee continues to fight to support our veterans. And, you know, as I said, this is personal. My dad was a veteran of the Vietnam War. He passed away almost exactly a year ago, and he battled cancer 3 times because of his exposure to Agent Orange, where in Vietnam he fixed the planes that sprayed Agent Orange, and he would sometimes be drenched in it. And he passed away because of his health complications due to that exposure of Agent Orange. My dad deserved every penny of his VA disability benefits. He could hardly breathe and had to take 2 naps a day at the end of his life just to get through a day. And to think that there are companies that will target disabled veterans and take up to $20,000 out of their pockets is unconscionable. I am so proud that California is now joining a national effort to better protect our veterans, and that we are standing up to do what's right, to show our veterans that we will have their backs. I want to thank everyone for being here today. I want to thank the scrappy, amazing crew of folks who fought so hard against what felt like every single lobbyist in town. And we had volunteers coming to help us because it was such a huge, huge fight. But it was really incredible to see people decide which side of the line they're going to be on. And California has decided to stay on the line that is with veterans. So thank you so much. Thank you to Governor Newsom. Thank you. And I would love to introduce my forever in arms buddy, Senator Barba Chiletta, who is not only a veteran himself, but a father of service members. And you could see the passion and how personal it was for him in this fight as well. Thank you, Senator Archuleta.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I'm Senator Bob Archuleta. I'm a combat veteran. I served with the 82nd Airborne, and I'm the chair of the Military and Veterans Committee here in the state of California. So I do carry that banner, not only for my veterans, for your families. I'd like to thank for the state of California, who loves veterans so very, very much. And I'd like to go ahead and right now talk about a partner in arms. Pilar, I'm going to extend my arm. When I was presenting my bill on the Senate floor, she reached up to me just like this, and I'm going to give it right back to you. I can't begin to tell you how much I love what you believe in, your dad, your support for veterans, no doubt. And Governor, you are taking a stand today, and I'm going to extend my hand out to you as well, because you're stepping up. The overwhelming odds that we were up against were unbelievable. Nobody thought we were able to pass this bill. But Senate Bill 694 strengthens California's commitment to protecting veterans from exploitation and federal claims that no one should be able to file them if they're not accredited. You've heard that. Even more importantly, it reaffirms California's responsibility to ensure veterans are not misled, not mistreated, manipulated, taken advantage of, or even seeking benefits that they really didn't deserve in some cases and had to come back and prove, and then they were at fault, and then who was guilty? They were. Why? Because they were misled by these individuals. So here in California, we're going to straighten this out. Senate Bill 694 is the way to do it. So the foundation of the bill is a key principle that military and veterans working together to uphold the law. And I think you heard from our Attorney General, this situation was against the law. Unaccredited individuals taking advantage of our veterans to the tune of $20,000 and $30,000 at a whack. It was, I'm telling you, we found this out. We had to come together. Look behind me. Veterans who served this country. You have family and friends who served this country. They deserve the best. And here in California, we intend to give you the best. Making millions of dollars in the back of our veterans is wrong. And it's time for us to allow the people who are doing the right job, our California Veteran Service Officers, the VFW, the American Legion, all the other organizations that are accredited to do this. So as a proud veteran of of 2 West Point graduates. My 2 sons are still serving, both paratroopers as well. And their buddies and friends all across the state and all across the nation have been calling and calling to say thank you, California. Thank you for standing up. As paratroopers, we jump in, and I think we did it this time. And so I'm so proud of the fact that we've honored so many veterans, and we're going to continue to do that. And Governor, I know you're behind us. The Attorney General, Ron Bonta, I know you're going to go ahead and be tough. And this law will be enacted, and it will be protected to serve our veterans. So my colleagues in the Assembly, my colleagues in the Senate, I'd like to thank you publicly for all what you've done. It was a group effort. It took all of us. But again, to the County Veteran Service Officers, they're all over the state of California, to the VFW, AMVETS, AARP, PORAC, SEIU, and the Federation of Labor Unions. Even they jumped in because we can't allow anyone to take advantage of our veterans. So with that, someone who's carrying the ball all the way through California and across this nation to support our veterans, our governor, Governor Newsom. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Mr. Senator. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your action. Thank you for stewarding this bill. Thank you for your partnership, but also thank you for punctuating the point why we're here with energy and conviction and with your own narrative and story. To the Assemblywoman, let me express gratitude to you, your dad. I appreciate, I've been writing a little bit lately and got into some of the files, found some letters from home. My grandfather, Arthur Menzies, who spent many, many years after that march, Corregidor, adjacent to the Bataan March, as a prisoner of war, came back a different man. He was always a distant figure in my life, eventually took his own life. That, of course, is an example that is very familiar to many people in the veterans community, many families that have been torn asunder because of similar experiences. And it marks a consciousness, which I appreciate you expressed, and a thread to which you're pulling in terms of your leadership and commitment to this cause. But it's one that I know connects to all of you directly, not just indirectly. And so, again, to all of you, I'm grateful. I'm also grateful because, as was described, this was not an easy process. So I'm grateful to your fortitude. I'm grateful that you didn't fall prey to influence. It wasn't, and it isn't, an exaggeration to say, even this morning, folks were still working to make sure that I didn't go to the left here and sign this bill. Good people, people that I believed in the past had conviction, character, and purpose, but in many cases are influenced by other things. $73 billion reinforces that. You talk about waste, you talk about fraud, you talk about abuse. California is doing something about it. Some people are talking about it, but they're not doing anything about it. We're doing something about it today. And so I'm very proud of all of you. That's leadership right here. The folks that stood strong and fought to make this happen. And I'm proud that it happened in California. Not first. There are a few other states that have marched the beat of a different drum for some time, but now California is joining that ranks with the ranks, as the Admiral said, of Commander, rather the largest, one of the largest cohorts of veterans anywhere in the United States of America. To the Attorney General, we say this all the time, program passing is not problem solving. So I appreciate highlighting the importance, not only of your being here today, but the importance of your team being there tomorrow and over the course of months and years to make sure we enforce and address the abuses in this space. But I'm grateful to be here in this space with all of you in the spirit that defines this moment. I also want to just acknowledge some broader leadership. This is not the first bill that we have signed to advance the cause of our veterans in the state of California. We've been building some momentum in the last number of years. Madam Secretary, thank you for your leadership, the work you're doing in real time. The voters approved over $1 billion part of that $6.38 billion package, Proposition 1, to address the issues of veterans and homelessness, the unprecedented supports for behavioral health and mental health that have been advanced by this legislature and are being implemented and applied throughout the state at a regional basis through your work, Madam Secretary. I want to also acknowledge the work of many of the people here today that also advanced that $20,000 threshold, the exemption on income taxes for our veterans. We were an outlier for too many years, and finally, California closed that gap last year. Again, it's all part of the momentum that we're building in this space to do more than just rhetorically say we have the backs of our veterans. So it's good to be back here. It's good to be here with all of you and have the backs of millions of our American heroes that are here and call California home. With that, let's sign this bill. On this bill, hopefully first, and if you have some off-topic questions, I'm happy to answer that, perhaps spare them.
Governor Newsom, host of SB 694, including the NAACP, the Urban League, and other veteran groups argue that this bill unintentionally restricts veterans' access to assistance, especially veterans of color, low-income veterans, and those in rural and unserved communities. Now that you have signed SB 694, how do you plan to ensure that these veterans do not face increased barriers and reduce choice or longer delays in accessing the benefits that they have?
I appreciate that question. That was obviously brought up through the legislative process, and I know, Madam Secretary, you have very strong opinions on precisely this subject. So let me defer to you, and you can defer to the author as well to highlight some of those issues and that debate that played out during the legislative process.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. So first of all, we want to ensure always that every veteran has the opportunity to file claims through free, accessible, quality, and responsive accreditation process with accredited claims agent. That is really key. But what's happening here is a discussion about equity, but it's not equity, it's exploitation. It is far easier for these companies to say, because of who you are, we're going to charge you $6,000 to file a claim, when in fact we promise you can't get your claim filed anywhere else. That is simply not true. And it's really important that every veteran recognize that the work that we do, along with our county veteran service officers, ensures that any veteran, regardless of who they are, what they look like, where they served or when they served, deserves this free representation always. And that representation is backed up by just the very numbers of what are filed already within our county veteran service officers. Last year, our county offices filed over 300,000 claims on behalf of veterans, totaling $687 million in new and one-time awards. In addition, they took in 24,000 applications for the tuition fee waiver program, meaning $175 million was back in veterans' pockets so that their dependent students could go to school and access college. That is what equity looks like. And so we want to ensure that all veterans, regardless of where they come from, again, have that equity and that accessible and free services that they should. I will say, VA, OIG, and the GAO have found historically that when the claims hit the Veterans Benefit Administration, there are racial inequities. We absolutely recognize that. But that happens after claims get to the VA, which means now that the Trump administration has closed the VBA Office of Equity Assurance, it is more important for our state to ensure that we are tracking this issue and we are ensuring that all of our veterans, regardless of who they are and where they come from, have access to those benefits, and we will absolutely do that.
Governor, most of the veterans who serve in the California legislature are not here and don't support this proposal. They note that you're essentially outlining an entire industry of people who are helping with the backlogs with accredited VSOs. And at the same time, they're concerned that those people, there are 2,600 claimants who are now in limbo because of this bill. I wonder, I mean, I also know Assemblyman Jeff Gonzalez, the only disabled veteran in the legislature, wanted you to take his name off this bill, not even sign it, just based on that alone, that his name is on there in a way that he does not want. Why not just take more time for these groups to figure it out, or why not find other consumer protections that, that it's so that everyone can be on the same page?
I don't add names or remove names from bills. That's the purview of the legislature. And I'll just say this, I'm proud to sign this bill. It's the right thing to do. I was mentioning to the group a moment ago, I got an interesting text, someone you know, who said he was hired for a quote-unquote load of money and needs it, and was tempted to lobby me today to advance that opinion and point of view. He said, absolutely the wrong thing to do. Said, sign the bill. No amount of money could dress my conscience if you did not. So I am very clear this is the right thing to do. That said, let me ask the author to answer your specific question, because that was debated with his and her colleagues in the legislature, and they can fill, I think, and color in a little bit more of their point of view on this.
Thank you for the questions. Questions are still out there because, is there a right or wrong? What's the balance? The balance is the legal law. The balance is the legal situation. It is against the law to exploit veterans or anyone. And anyone who works with veterans should be accredited and licensed. You have a license. You have a license. You're accredited. A school teacher, you're accredited. Why aren't these individuals falling into that system to go through the accreditation? They don't want to. Then they'd have to open up their books. They'd have to present records. Maybe they wouldn't have. They would probably have to end up spending money on state taxes. Who knows what they would have to do? But they're exploiting veterans, and it is against the law. Time and time again, there is no excuse. Anybody running down the highway taking a load of groceries to those that need help, God bless them for doing it. But you can't be driving that truck without a license, without being accredited to drive an 18-wheeler. We have laws to protect the community, and we have now just witnessed a law to be signed that was signed by the governor to protect our veterans. And we're going to stand with it, and we're going to help more veterans in the long run than ever before. Every single one of you across the state of California that you have a county veteran service officer in 56 counties, every one of them are going to step up. They're going to go ahead and acknowledge every single veteran. Every single veteran that's in the system will remain in the system. We are going to help. We've got the commitment from the governor, the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, our colleagues. We're going forward with this bill, and we're going to protect our veterans. Thank you.
Your colleague, Senator Tom Ummer, who is also a veteran, likened this situation to eviscerating criminal defense attorneys who were private, also not necessarily accredited. I understand they're under the bar, but it's almost as if
Well, let me just point out, every colleague has his own opinion. And that's why it is so important we understand. We put this out to everyone. Everyone had a shot at this. The good, the bad, the ugly. And guess what? The good prevailed because veterans need to be protected. And not everybody sees it. Well, guess what? I see it. I served. And I will tell you that as I fight for my 2 sons, and I will fight for every veteran, I will continue to let everyone know that all of us here representing veterans from the state of California across this nation are going to stand up, and the calls are coming in. Thank you, Senator Archuleta. Thank you, Governor. Thank you to all of us for what we've done. We've just took on the biggest lion that you can possibly find. They didn't think we were going to make it. Well, guess what? Veterans, when they come together and their families come together, they have a voice, and the voice was heard. Thank you.
If I may just add, on the idea that they are helping, they are actually getting in the way of veterans getting their benefits because they're clogging up the system. So these claim sharks cannot go in like a county veteran service officer. David should come up here. Like a county veteran service officer can go in and electronically file a claim. These companies cannot legally go into that system. They're illegally trying to access people's records, which is also covered under this law to protect their information. So they're filing paper claims. And because there have been so many fraudulent paper claims because of the proliferation of these claim sharks, they are actually slowing down the process with the VA because the VA now has to go through analyzing every single application that comes in by paper with extra scrutiny because they are seeing so much fraud. And they're encouraging people. I spoke with one veteran who she was a single mom leaving an abusive relationship. She got promised that they were going to help her. They tried to push her to go see a non-VA doctor because they were trying to increase her benefit fraudulently. If she didn't feel comfortable, she backed out of it after already paying them thousands of dollars. And if she had gone through with that and then been awarded that benefit and they came back and said she was fraudulent, she would have been on the hook for that. So they are putting veterans at risk by doing trumped up and increased claims. So they're not only clogging the system through the applications, they're clogging the system through the phone line. They have these auto dialers. They get people's private information. They log in and they call through the rolls every single day to see if veterans got increased benefits so that they can go after them and say, now you owe us $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. So they are clogging the system in every single possible way. They like to say to veterans, we can get your benefit faster, we can get you more. Well, maybe if they're fraudulent, they can get them more, but they do not have a different road into the VA, and they are actually clogging up the only road that exists for veterans to get their benefits. And on the point that was made around attorneys, it's not even the same thing at all. It's apples and oranges, because attorneys are under the bar. They are regulated. There is transparency. There is accountability. This is more like an illegal dentist in a garage operating. If that were happening, you shut it down. It's illegal. It's just illegal. And what they're doing violates federal law, plain and simple.
Well, the bottom line is we're disappointed in the decision. I don't believe that federal agents should be running roughshod over the Constitution, putting communities that are already on edge in more terror and more distress by having masks on. No other law enforcement agency operates like this, period, full stop. It's about trust. And it's about relationships. And they're destroying trusts, and they've frayed relationships, not just nerves. As it relates to amendments, we offered the author the amendments that were reflected in the bill that was upheld. Those amendments were not taken by the author. We believed it should have been a federal masking bill, period. We're pleased as it relates to the second decision, as it relates to the ID bill. and I appreciate the Attorney General's strong advocacy on both. That was upheld, and that's quite significant. California has led in this space and will continue, as the AG can, I imagine, attest, will continue our advocacy to move this process forward as well. And I don't know if you want to, this is if I may, because point of personal privilege, because he's been such a strong advocate on the masking bill. Mr. Attorney General, want to add anything to that?
Yeah, thank you. Of course, my office has the duty and obligation that we take very seriously to defend in court the laws of the state of California when they are challenged, and we defended both laws in court. We're there, of course, for the hearing. We argued it, and the final ruling was consistent with what we expected from some of the clues left by the judge in the hearing. And I think what's most important is what the governor was saying, is that if you can't tell the difference between a criminal trying to harm you and a law enforcement agent who is masked and you don't know who they are and they're being aggressive and they seem to be threatening you, you have a huge problem. And accountability and transparency are critical. The masking policy of the federal government at this time does not meet those standards. It undermines trust, and it's a major problem. It's a public safety problem. And so the court upheld the bill, at least for now, in terms of not granting a preliminary injunction brought by the federal government on the ID portions, requirement of a badge number or a name, a department. That's fully upheld for now. We'll see. The case continues, of course, but a preliminary injunction asks, are you likely to succeed on the merits? And the federal government was denied when that question was asked. And as to the masking portion, the judge made very clear what a pathway might look like if this is something that California decides to pursue. And of course, when you have the federal government interacting with the state, there are things that are appropriate under the law to consider, the Supremacy Clause, the Intergovernmental Immunities Clause among them, which were considered by this judge in this ruling. But I think there's a path forward if it is sought, and we will continue to do everything in our power to defend the laws of the state of California when they are challenged in court.
And if I can just say one additional point on this, I'm very proud of this legislature. I was very proud to sign that bill. It was the first in the nation masking bill. And I'm hopeful that Congress will take the leadership role and do the same. I'm very grateful to the leadership, both the House and the Senate, at least the Democratic caucuses, for their willingness to make this a priority moving forward as it relates to any additional funding for DHS. And I think that's a principled stand and it's one we strongly advocate.
Back to the legislation, you kind of alluded to this, but didn't quite say it. Is this a way for you to kind of get ahead of White House claims that California's right?
Oh, no. No, this is just the right thing to do, period, full stop. It has the contours of so many other debates here in Sacramento. I might as well be having a debate we had in 2019 when we were going after check cashing and payday lenders and everything else. And, you know, these are a lot of similarities, dissimilarities. I'm not suggesting they're precisely the same, but this is a principled thing to do. I just offer it as a point of consideration in the context of that debate. Maybe they want to consider the waste, fraud, and abuse in this space as a priority to help veterans that they claim they care so deeply about. The rhetoric doesn't match that reality. Well, I thought it was the cleanest approach to go, but we signed the bill we signed, and to the extent that they want to consider another bill on the basis of the decision that was rendered by this particular judge. Now we're going to see how the process unfolds, which was the implication, or at least the suggestion that the Attorney General made. We'll see where that goes. But as it relates to the issue of federal masking, that was the intent that we were trying to ultimately advance. They made a determination, the legislature, to include local government. They made an exemption for state government. Now on the basis of these facts and what was actually said in the opinion, there may be, as the Attorney General said, a different path. I haven't had any conversations about that.
Governor, you're heading to Munich later this week to talk about climate. Can you talk about what your message to global leaders
William Maxwell. Yeah, no, I've read what you've read on that, and I'm aware on the basis of the response by Casey, his statement. I haven't had a chance to sit down with him, and I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm also looking forward to the other 3 million pieces of evidence on the Epstein file to be released by the Department of Justice. What the hell are they hiding? They've only released half of the documents. That needs to happen, and to the extent that I will have a stronger opinion, will be on the basis of that engagement directly with Casey. On the issue of the environment, and goes to the endangerment finding issue that was brought up and highlighted this week under the EPA, I'm going to not double down on stupid. I'm going to continue to try to lead an agenda where we could be competitive against China. China's cleaning our clock as it relates to low-carbon green growth. They're cleaning our clock in terms of not just electric vehicles, because it's not, again, about electric power. It's about economic power. It's about supply chains. It's about relationships. It's about exports. It's about manufacturing. It's about jobs. And this country is walking away. Endangerment finding, we're walking away from science. We are walking away from common sense. And I'm going to walk in to that conference, be one of a number of panels that I'll be on, and make the case that California is a stable and reliable partner, that California has significantly grown its GDP. It's the 4th largest economy in the world for the moment, and we have significantly reduced our greenhouse gas emissions. We are in the how business. We are implementing our ideals. 3/4, or rather 2/3, 67% of the economy of this state runs on 100% renewables, at least 100% of that, 67%, meaning California is demonstrating at scale that we can lead with the application of these new technologies, and we are a big beneficiary of the economic benefits of that as well.
What's your comments on President Trump posting that video of the Obama assassination?
Well, it's disgraceful. It's racist. It's abhorrent. Any other circumstance, that person would be fired. Board of directors would ask him to be fired, be ashamed and humiliated, and would have apologized. He did none of the above. The President of the United States sending out a racist trope should disgust every human being in this room, everyone. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, watched Kid Rock this weekend or Bad Bunny. You should be disgusted by the behavior of the President of the United States. And then I'll extend it. The behavior included trying to lay out some anonymous staff member, if you believe that, lying to the American people, putting out a racist trope, disgraceful. Leader of the free world. I don't care who the hell you are. That was sick. It was sick. Sickens me in my core, and I appreciate you bringing it back up, because I can't believe that was washed away just with another news cycle. How the hell is he allowed to get away with that?
You think he was doing it to avoid the Epstein spot?
Public health funding by the White House today, $328 million of that is for California. So, what is your response?
328. We're getting money. I didn't hear the first part. What do you say?
Of the $600 million rescinded in public health funds from the 4 Democratic states,
No.
for California, that's $328.
Yeah, we're going to litigate. We've got an attorney general that's well versed in litigation, but he's more importantly, we litigate from a position of strength. We believe in the rule of law, not the rule of dawn. I hope it's dawned on you and everybody else that your question, what you just asked, framed with 4 Democratic states.
Is litigation how we plan to address the lack in that funding?
Well, when you have someone who doesn't believe in the law or thinks laws don't apply to him and consistently breaks the law, then you have to use the courts. They seem to be the only other branch of government functioning right now. Certainly not the supine Congress, not Speaker Johnson, who's nowhere to be found on any of this, who countenanced that racial video, who continues to countenance this kind of recklessness to the rule of law, congressionally appropriated funds that are being misdirected and abused by the President of the United States. Again, we are very familiar with this, and this AG is very successful in addressing this in a court of law. I think based on the court's decision, we should move in the opposite direction, and that is a federal mask ban. as it relates to federal agents. I think the issue that is at hand is ICE. The issue at hand is federal agents, period, full stop. To the extent we want to have a debate about local and state masking, that's a different conversation. But the issue at hand is the issue of ICE and the issue of federal agency that is abusing those masks in the context of their operations.
Governor, on the governor race to replace you.
I have no comment, none. Thank you. Next question.
What are your thoughts on the very large field of Democratic candidates right now?
I have none.
Are you?
It's, and forgive me, I said this a few weeks ago. I wasn't exaggerating. It's just not my focus. It's yours. I'm focused on my job. I've got a job. Yeah, sell by date. I'm very mindful of that, but I'm going to run a 110-yard dash in the spirit of the Olympics. I look forward to doing my job and you doing yours by continuing to ask that question.
Last question.
All right.
I'm wondering, are you aware of a legislative proposal that would extend the right to remote work for state workers? I know you're.
I was just talking to, we got to get these downtowns moving again. Got a sense of community and place. I'm supporting the local deli. It's been around 20, 30 years that doesn't know if they can last another 20, 30 days. I'm for a sense of community and energy and daring. I'm for serendipity. I'm for relationships. I'm for bonds being formed. I'm for young people having a chance to be seen and heard and opportunities for growth and promotion. I'm for, I'm for addressing the issue of loneliness and isolation. I'm for getting us back. So as you know, I've supported that, and I believe that we're on track to do that July 1st. To the extent others have different opinions, I think that's reflected in your question. They do. My opinion has been consistent, and I hope was just reinforced very clearly in terms of the comments I just made. Any other final question with that? Oh, good.
Are there any particular policies that your administration is planning a direct response to?
Well, I mean, we're going to litigate again. What's so reckless about this is, this is the foundation of scientific reason that we can advance and arguments we can advance as it relates to our regulatory policies and position. But they're not even trying to address that because they know they'll lose because they're so sound. They're trying to go after the Massachusetts decision to go around this. And that just shows the lengths to which this administration will go to try to recreate the 19th century. We want to dominate the future. We want to be competitive, not just against China, but the rest of the world. We want clean air. We want clean energy. We want abundant energy. We want low-cost energy. We want to enjoy the tech stack that is part of this revolution. Other countries get it. We are doubling down on stupid. This is profoundly reckless to the economy of the United States. It is profoundly reckless to the health of the United States. This has nothing to do with making America healthy again or wealthy again. Quite the contrary. Thank you, guys. Thank you.